There's a serious bet taking shape inside the Chargers offense right now, and it hits the exact area that hurt Justin Herbert the most: protection. Mike McDaniel is changing how this offensive line moves, speeding up Herbert's footwork, and testing who can really keep up with this transformation. But the clues do not stop there. Joe Alt could be ready to hit another level. An elite cornerback might enter the conversation, and Herbert is walking toward a season that could rewrite his entire story. Subscribe, because today we're connecting these dots from the inside. The biggest change in Los Angeles may not be some flashy signing. It may be the language being used during every single rep. Mike McDaniel arrived, studied an offense that suffered way too much in 2025, and started breaking down old habits. The offensive line is moving away from Greg Roman's gap-blocking system and into an outside zone scheme. That demands coordination, lateral quickness, and fast decisions. Based on what Joe Alt told Daniel Popper, the message is pretty simple: know your assignment, turn, and run with power. I absolutely love that mentality. Alt described the offense as freeing because it allows him to play fast and physical without overthinking everything. But there is one part nobody inside that building can ignore. Freedom only works when all 5 linemen see the play the same way. The Chargers added 10 offensive linemen this offseason and could have 3 new starters on the interior. Cole Strange is trying to lock down one guard spot, while Kayode Awosika currently appears to be ahead of Jake Slaughter, the second-round pick who played center in college and is now being developed at guard. That does not mean Slaughter has failed. It is June. The system is still being installed, and the competition is completely open. But it does reveal something important behind the scenes. McDaniel and offensive line coach Butch Barry appear ready to reward whoever executes the new system right now, no matter where that player was drafted. That kind of meritocracy can raise the level of the entire unit. It also shows how much work still sits in front of Herbert. Herbert is being pushed out of his comfort zone too. During some practices, he has gone through stretches without throwing because McDaniel has focused on his footwork, positioning, and release speed. This is not punishment, and it is not a reason to panic. It is a deliberate attempt to reprogram the small details so the ball comes out faster and interior pressure has less time to wreck the play. After 54 sacks in 16 games last season, every tenth of a second matters. There are also 2 developments on the health front. Omarion Hampton returned to normal work and led both individual and team drills. That is massive for a running back built to attack this outside zone scheme. Ladd McConkey continues to work partially off to the side without a public explanation. It is worth watching, but there is no reason to panic at this stage. The gamble is aggressive. Rebuild the protection, timing, and offensive identity all at the same time. If these pieces come together, Herbert will not have to survive his own offense anymore. He will finally get to command it. If the first phase of this transformation looks like a construction site with moving pieces everywhere, one player could stabilize the whole thing much faster: Joe Alt. The exciting part is that this system will not force him to abandon what he already does at an elite level. He can stay the disciplined, technically sound, dependable protector who established himself on the right side. The difference is that Mike McDaniel and Butch Barry may finally unlock a part of his game that stayed hidden inside the previous system. When Alt entered the NFL, the conversation was all about reliability. Quick hands, long arms, smooth transitions through blocks, very few unnecessary penalties. Under Greg Roman, those qualities fit an offensive line built to generate power at the point of attack. Alt could anchor, sustain contact, and provide consistency. He was excellent when available, but treating him as nothing more than a wall would seriously undersell the athlete the Chargers selected near the top of the 2024 draft. Before that selection, Lance Zierlein highlighted Alt's foot speed and his ability to reach the second level. At the Combine, Alt ran the 40-yard dash in 5.05 seconds and earned a 94 athleticism score through the NFL's metrics, second among all tackles at the event. That is rare material for a player his size. His mobility becomes even more valuable when the entire line has to flow together, reach defenders, and create lateral running lanes before the defense can shut them down. McDaniel's outside zone system does put huge responsibility on the guards. Cole Strange and Kayode Awosika have to prove they can move, adjust their angles, and hold blocks throughout the run. But no piece works by itself. If the tackle is late, loses balance, or fails to reach the edge defender, the running back loses the read that should guide his cut. Alt brings the exact combination that can keep the structure from breaking. Enough discipline to protect his technique, and enough explosiveness to reach wherever the design sends him. His height remains one area to monitor. Before the draft, Zierlein noted that Alt sometimes bends at the waist and leans forward to compensate for difficulty lowering his center of gravity. That can weaken his anchor against bull rushers. Barry has to protect Alt's base while asking him to move more often. That is the kind of development happening far away from the headlines. If it works, this will not simply be Joe Alt adapting to a new offense. It will be the Chargers finally using every tool possessed by a player who already looked NFL ready. The rest of the offensive line remains a question. Joe Alt could become the answer that holds this entire system together. While the Chargers rebuild their offense internally, a situation unfolding across the country deserves to quietly find its way onto Joe Hortiz's phone. Christian Gonzalez reported for the Patriots' mandatory minicamp, but he skipped voluntary workouts while his camp negotiated an extension. He is reportedly seeking a deal worth more than the 4-year, $124 million contract Trent McDuffie received. Gonzalez could still finish this process by re-signing with New England. But if those talks harden, Hortiz needs to know exactly what it would cost to open that door. The Patriots did not build their reputation by handing out market-resetting contracts. The 4-year, $104 million deal given to defensive tackle Milton Williams in 2025 carries the highest annual value in franchise history. An extension above McDuffie's deal would put Gonzalez in different territory. Reporting for minicamp prevents an immediate fracture, but it does not erase the financial tension. That is where the Chargers' problem meets a potentially massive solution. Dante Jackson, Tarheeb Still, and Cam Hart form the current core of cornerbacks with starting experience. Jackson is under contract only through 2026. Still and Hart enter the final years of their rookie deals in 2027. After the draft, Hortiz admitted that Los Angeles considered cornerbacks, but the board never presented an opportunity worth taking. Read between those internal lines. The franchise knows it has a need and still has not found a long-term answer. Gonzalez would become that answer immediately. He has the size, range, athleticism, reliable tackling, and coverage ability to travel with #1 receivers. His interception production has not matched the contract he wants. 4 picks across 3 seasons and only 1 in 2025. But reducing his value to that number ignores his coverage, pass breakups, and the tactical freedom created by a cornerback who can survive one-on-one matchups. Then comes the price separating fantasy from real roster construction. A trade would likely begin with a 2027 first-round pick, followed by the massive contract Gonzalez is seeking. Tuli Tuipulotu II, another member of the 2023 draft class, is also approaching his own extension. Hortiz would need to fit 2 major decisions into the Chargers' future without weakening the roster's foundation. Still, standing pat cannot become the automatic response. If Los Angeles is already considering spending a premium pick on a cornerback in the next draft, using that asset to acquire a proven young star deserves serious discussion. Inside our war room, what is your call? Would you trade a first-round pick and pay Gonzalez like one of the league's best corners? Or protect those resources, extend Tuli, and find another solution? For now, this is a possibility created by difficult negotiations, not an offer sitting on the table. But behind-the-scenes work starts before an opportunity becomes a headline. When talent of this caliber might become available, an aggressive general manager does not wait for the phone to ring. He makes the first call. Every one of these developments leads back to the name that determines the value of every decision made in Los Angeles: Justin Herbert. The question raised by Dan Graziano carries real weight. What can Mike McDaniel do with a quarterback who brings more arm strength, mobility, and off-script ability than Tua Tagovailoa? The answer could change more than Herbert's numbers. It could change where the Chargers stand in the AFC. McDaniel's history in Miami explains the excitement. In 2022, his first year as Dolphins head coach, Tagovailoa's QBR jumped from 55.7 to 70.6. Tua led the league in passer rating, yards per attempt, and yards per completion that season. In 2023, he led the NFL in passing yards. The following year, he led in completion percentage. That progression shows an offense capable of creating efficiency, volume, and accuracy, not just one isolated statistical spike. Now think about what McDaniel inherited. Herbert has already thrown for 24,820 yards and 163 touchdowns in 95 regular season games. He has added 1,715 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. Talent was never the mystery. The problem is that Herbert has spent way too much time putting out fires created around him. Even while leading the Chargers to 11 wins and a playoff berth in 2025, he was sacked 54 times in 16 games. He ran 83 times for 498 yards, both career highs that showed his explosiveness, but also revealed how many plays he had to rescue outside the structure. The bill came due against New England in the wildcard round. Herbert finished with 159 passing yards, took 6 sacks, and lost a fumble in the 16-3 defeat. He also ended the regular season with 13 interceptions and lost 2 of his 7 fumbles. I am not putting all of that on him when both starting tackles battled injuries and the interior line collapsed. But protecting your quarterback also means giving him answers when the blocking loses. That is exactly what these footwork and quick release drills are designed to create. McDaniel does not need to turn Herbert into a conservative distributor. He needs short throws that function like extensions of the running game, pre-snap motion that exposes coverage, and routes that provide immediate answers. Once defenses start creeping forward to suffocate that rhythm, Herbert's arm can attack the areas they leave vulnerable. Getting Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater back healthy will be critical. Omarion Hampton, after missing 8 games as a rookie, could bring balance to the backfield. Charlie Kolar adds blocking to the tight end room, while David Njoku brings experience and receiving ability. These pieces make it possible to imagine an offense that no longer depends on individual miracles. And this is coming straight from the heart. We have already watched Herbert prove how tough he is. We do not need another season spent celebrating how many hits he survived. We need to see the system create an advantage before the contact arrives. If McDaniel can make that happen, 2026 could be the year Herbert stops being viewed as a great quarterback surrounded by excuses and starts being recognized for the wins his talent should have been chasing from the beginning. This Chargers summer is revealing a franchise willing to change details that once seemed untouchable. McDaniel is challenging Herbert. Barry is speeding up the offensive line. Joe Alt is taking on new responsibilities. And Hortiz has to stay alert if a star like Christian Gonzalez becomes attainable. But new terminology and talent on paper will not be enough. This team has to turn preparation into protection, rhythm, and wins when January arrives. Now pick the defining factor: Herbert's leap inside this system or an aggressive move for Gonzalez. Drop your answer, subscribe to Los Angeles Chargers News today, and track every signal with us. The potential is fully charged. It is time for production. Bolt up.